Hello everyone, Meteorologist Jordan Darensbourg here. I hope everyone has had a warm Martin Luther King Day morning today. We have been quite cold across the entirety of Central Texas, and that continues as we take a look outside. This is our Zach Theater weather camera, and I'm going to go to the wall here, and I'm going to show you our temperatures as it's all going down. We are at around the upper 20s to around 30 at the airport as well as Camp Mabry. It is still a quite chilly morning across the entirety of Central Texas. And as we take a look across our region, it's mainly upper 20s. We do have some lower 30s the closer you get to the I-10 corridor. So places like Lockhart at 30, LaGrange right there at 32. But we do have upper 20s in some sections of the hill country as well. Now, when you factor in those winds, we've still got wind chills, those feels-like temperatures, still in those lower 20s in areas along and east of I-35, and we've still got some upper teens in sections of the hill country and even San Marcos as well. And with that in place, we do have that cold weather advisory until noon on Wednesday for everyone in Central Texas. So you want to make sure that you are protecting the 4 Ps. Make sure you've got those precautions done, or if not, make sure you rush them to completion. That means checking on your elderly neighbors, making sure they have adequate warmth, making sure you bring your pets inside as well, and also cover any outdoor pipes as well as outdoor plants. Make sure both of those are all taken care of. Now, let's talk to the main highlight of the forecast, and that is a winter storm warning for the I-35 corridor and points off to the east. And that's because we could have snow and sleet accumulations exceeding 1, maybe getting up to 2 inches at times, and maybe even some light icing as a result of some freezing rain, especially the closer you get to I-10. And what that means is that travel could be especially treacherous in those particular areas, but we also could have tricky travel issues over sections of the hill country as well, where they do have a winter weather advisory. Same story for Milam County. You guys have a winter weather advisory. And by the way, this is from 6 p.m. tonight all the way until 6 tomorrow evening, because we expect chilly conditions throughout most of the day tomorrow, even though some areas may get above freezing tomorrow afternoon. Now let's time everything out for you, and this is our in-house graph model, and a little bit of a tweak in it now. It does show maybe some light flurries making its way through by the time we get to your Monday evening at around 6 p.m. And then as we move this forward, we are expecting the main bands of snow to make their way through by the time we get to the overnight hours and maybe even early on your Tuesday morning. We're thinking around 2:30, 3 a.m. and then eventually 3:30, 4 a.m. is where we're going to get the bulk of the snow. And then everything should be out of here maybe by around sunrise, maybe a little later than that. But by noon, we should be getting to those mid-30s. But we're also going to be quite breezy, and depending on sunshine and those winds, that could help with the melting process. Now, here's a couple of long-range models. Our global models are in agreement that we'll get good snow, and some areas like LaGrange could be the big winners here, regardless of the model. It's the amounts that are a little wonky depending on which model you would pick. So here, the European model, which is more accurate, has LaGrange at around 1.5 inches, and some areas like here in town around 0.6 of an inch, so that would amount to about a coating. Maybe our northern zones could have more of a dusting rather than a coating. Now, for the GFS model, again, heaviest amounts in the coastal plains again. However, it does have slightly higher amounts than the European model. However, some of the model amounts are a little bit down from earlier runs this morning. Like, for instance, LaGrange a little closer to 3 inches. But for us here locally, we're looking at $1.75, so almost 2 inches of snow here in town, and maybe even a little bit more of a coating in Wilco. The European model has more of a dusting, and then maybe even heavier amounts in places like San Marcos as well, where they could also have a little bit of ice accumulation. Now, there could be some changes last minute that could cause us to entirely miss out, and that's because we're watching the potential of dry air moving on in, and that could inhibit some of those snow totals, especially with the high-res model data that's coming in that's showing that. One of those models is the HRRR model. We commonly like to call it the HRRR. And by the time we get to 7 p.m., most of us would be seeing regular rain showers. However, I do want to point out that we're barely above freezing at that point, and there are some areas of the hill country that could be down below freezing at that point, and they could see more of a sleet and freezing rain, and that's going to expand by the time we get to the overnight hours and into early Tuesday. So the reason the HRRR isn't so big on some snow totals here in the Austin metro is because it's thinking more so that we're going to be seeing sleet and freezing rain as opposed to snow. But then, as we take a look at the rest of the morning, we do have that all changing to snow eventually for portions of the coastal plains, and those areas could be seeing some of those heaviest amounts even with the HRRR. But then by the time we get to 11 a.m., just like all of the other models, everything should be out of here by then, and we should have a mostly clear and dry afternoon. And there are some outside shots that some areas in the coastal plains could even get to 40 for your Tuesday. Now, by and large, the key thing we're watching is Monday through Wednesday morning. Right now through Wednesday morning, that's our weather impact alert period, so we're in the middle of that. And wintry precip and hard freezes, because remember, we're going to have lows in the 20s each night from now through Wednesday, so you're going to want to really watch this very, very closely. Hopefully you've gotten your hard freeze preps and continue to monitor the forecast, because as we are seeing with the high-res model data, things can start to change a little bit even closer to the date. Now here's a bit of a silver lining to all this. It's not going to be like February 2021, because remember February 2021, we were in those upper 30s and maybe even colder than that throughout the entirety of the week. However, take a look at Wednesday's high, getting up to 50, so a lot of melting will be done by that point, and then we're going to eventually get close to 60 by the end of the week. And oh, by the way, we could be seeing 70, yes, 70 by the time we get to Sunday. So a very interesting next 7 days is on tap for us here locally, but again, we're continuing to track the potential for winter weather. Of course, Houston getting much heavier amounts. I'm just going to focus on us here locally in Central Texas. So we're going to be taking a look once again at the winter storm warning that is in effect. And I am going to go put myself in boxes right back at the Weather Center to kind of show you that it is the Austin Metro, Wilco, Hayes, as well as portions of the coastal plains. So that would be Lee, Fayette, Bastrop, and Caldwell counties who have this winter storm warning from 6 p.m. tonight until 6 p.m. tomorrow night. And everyone else in the KVUE viewing area, if I did not name your county, you are under a winter weather advisory for that same time period. The difference between a winter weather advisory and a winter storm warning is because the National Weather Service feels that those in the winter storm warning could have trickier driving conditions and could have greater impacts from this winter storm than those in a winter weather advisory. So I just wanted to make sure I cleared up any confusion with that. I'm going to see real quick if anyone has any comment on this. We're going to go ahead and see if anyone is saying anything on Facebook right now. We're going to keep it nice and simple here. We're going to be here for about 15 minutes or so, so we've got about 5 minutes for questions. We'll see if you guys have any questions right now. I don't see anyone. I know there's 131 now, 126 of y'all watching right now. But by and large, the key things I want y'all to know is that the chances of winter weather are ramping up, but we are also tracking the possibility that that might not happen depending on what these high-res models and seeing if they verify or not. So really, we're going to be nowcasting throughout the evening and into the overnight hours to see which is going to win out, because I've seen other models, like there's one called the North American Mesoscale model that does show maybe even more in terms of snowfall, but I'm not necessarily buying that one because typically that model isn't really that accurate as opposed to, say, the HRRR or maybe even the European model when we're talking about global model data. So Christy is asking about snow. That would mainly be at around 6 in the evening tonight. And then later tonight and overnight is the timeline for that. Keon, no, you cannot spread panic. And I don't want any of y'all spreading any weird misinformation or any outrageous snow totals from this, okay? Don't do it. It's not the right thing to do. Just trust us. We are going to continue to be over this every step of the way, okay? So Sarah is asking about what will flights tomorrow morning look like in Austin? Check with your airline. That's going to be my advice, is check with your airline. But if you've got an early morning flight, you could be running into some issues because that's when the bulk of the snow is going to take place. So the runway might be slick throughout most of the day. So we're going to continue to watch it. And I do want to mention bridges and overpasses are going to be where we're seeing the most issues in terms of roads. So you've got to be careful on those. I know TxDOT is pre-treating them like crazy leading up to this, but again, you want to be careful if you do have to be out. Tomorrow, we're going to watch this very, very closely, and we're going to watch road conditions as well, because that's going to be very, very important in all of this. Angelica Cerritos checking in from Rockdale, that is out in Milam County. You guys are under a winter weather advisory for this time period. You're not under the winter storm warning, but I'm thinking a lot of y'all could get around half an inch, maybe even an inch and a half, maybe even a little more than that in some areas, especially south of you guys in Rockdale, like Giddings, LaGrange, those particular areas. Flight issues for midday. Amanda, you're looking at snow for Lockhart. And Jessica, we're scheduled to fly in at 3. I think 3, you're probably going to be okay. You're probably going to be okay. So we're going to be above freezing at that point. I have a high in the upper 30s, so that's good. Hello, Amanda. Oh, never mind. I just answered your question. What time do we drip water? You should have done that. I say you should have done that earlier, like yesterday, because, again, we're in that cold weather advisory, so make sure that you are protecting those 4 Ps. And I'm going to pull that up once again to kind of show you what we're talking about here. People, pets, pipes, and plants. And so you want to make sure that you've got that handled. Daniel, it wouldn't be a bad idea to stay home. Marie and Bird Paws, Austin, you guys could be getting around half an inch to maybe even an inch and a half. Daniel in Round Rock, you're looking at around half an inch and an inch and a half. Staying home, I wouldn't blame you for it. I know a lot of schools have canceled classes for tomorrow as a result of this. Cindy is asking about Wednesday morning, and we're going to take this timeline and move a little slower through it here. And that'll be probably one of the last things we need to do, because I'm going to get off here in the next 15 minutes so that y'all can continue to watch the inauguration. But we're going to start with Monday at around 6 p.m. And it shows maybe some light snow in some spots. But then watch this as we head through around 10 p.m., 10:30, 11. And then by the time we get to 11, 11:30, midnight, places like Maynard could see some snow showers. Maynard, you guys are seeing mostly snow, could have a little bit of sleet mixed in as well. I see that question. Oak Hills looking maybe with some snow flurries. Pflugerville, maybe an inch and a half to an inch. That's what we've got there. All right. And then watch at 1:30 a.m. to 2. That's when we see most of the snow for the Austin Metro and the coastal plains with that coastal low moving through. And then this is by the time we get to 4 in the morning. There you see most of the KVU area seeing all snow. And then by around 5, 5:30, 6, everything is making its way out of the coastal plains, and then we start to clear out. Maybe a few lingering flurries by the time we get to 8 a.m., and then everything should start to slowly clear out by the time we get to around 10 o'clock. And then we could get above freezing for a few hours there on your Tuesday. So there's that. Again, I know a lot of y'all are asking about, are y'all going to get snow? Are y'all going to get sleet? I'm going to pull that graphic up real quick before I go here to kind of show y'all what we're looking at here. And I'm going to pull it up in these boxes right here. So it's important to know where you are in relation to our viewing area. And those areas are seeing that most of us will be seeing mainly snow. And I do want to mention that very, very importantly. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to scroll in here, and we're going to have all the details on who all is getting mostly snow and who's all getting some sleet possible. So we're going to start in the hill country where you're going to only get like a light dusting. So places like Mason, Llano, Harper, Stonewall, Fredericksburg, and then we got places like Blanco, Johnson City, Round Mountain, Marble Falls getting mostly snow, Spicewood, out toward Burnett, Briggs, Bertram, those areas, also out toward Towle, Buchanan Dam, and Kingsland. Those areas now getting into Wilco, Liberty Hill, Leander, Cedar Park, the Serenata area, Florence, Gerald, Granger, Taylor, Hutto, Lake Pflugerville, Wells Branch, and then pretty much the entire Austin metro, places like Manor, Elgin, Garfield, the airport, out toward Weberville, Coda, those areas getting mostly snow. And then as we move on down to like San Marcos, that's where we could get more of that wintry mix, that wintry precipitation. So places like San Marcos, Kyle, Wimberley, down toward Lockhart and Luling as well, could have a little bit more of that freezing rain. It would only be about 1/10 of an inch, but still. Got Flatonia, Schulenburg, LaGrange kind of on that line. Flatonia, Schulenburg getting that wintry mix. Smithville getting mostly snow. Giddings getting mostly snow. Carmine getting mostly snow. Cedar Creek getting mostly snow. Rosenke getting mostly snow. McDade and Camp Swift getting mostly snow as well. Maybe Mustang Ridge kind of on that line. Same story for Kyle and Wimberley. And then you've got Giddings and then up toward Cameron, Rockdale, Thorndale. That's where you're going to start to see mostly snow. So by and large, a lot of us are going to get mostly snow with maybe some sleet mixed in. There are some areas closer to I-10 who could get a little bit more of that wintry mix. And so there's that. Tiffany, yeah, it wouldn't hurt because then you would be turning it off and turning it back on, and it's a lot. And with that, Daniel, thank you very much. Wednesday morning, Christina asking one more question. Morgan, you have a question about another station. I'm not going to necessarily answer that part, but we're just going to get a bit of a dusting in Gillespie County. And Young JoJo Productions, are the GFS and Euros on point? They usually are, especially the Euro. Daniel, thank you for the compliment. And Shanna asking about kids can make a mud snowman, and I'm kind of siding with more of the European model. Young JoJo, by the way, I think you asked the same question twice. There's that. Karen, Taylor's going to get mostly snow for that. I do want to answer that real quick. And then, let's see, Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. forecast. This ice could still be there. A lot that doesn't melt on Tuesday will refreeze, and we could still have some slick spots for Wednesday morning. That's why we have the weather impact alert period for Wednesday morning as well. And with that, thank you all so much. Let's see. Angeli Santi, Comal County, yeah, mostly a wintry mix. Snow and sleet and freezing rain, Shauna, to answer your question. Georgetown, Ahmad, I think I would stay put tomorrow for the most part, depending on how things go. We're going to be nowcasting pretty much because of a lot of the high-res model data that's saying we may not get snow, but a lot of the global data is saying we will. So with that, I just want to say thank y'all so much for joining us on this live. I hope everyone has a tremendous Martin Luther King Day, And for those who are watching the inauguration, I really hope you guys have been enjoying all of the ceremonies. David Muir obviously doing a great job reporting for ABC News with all the latest on that. So for now, I'm meteorologist Jordan Darensbourg, and our chief meteorologist Hunter Williams. He'll be in later on this afternoon throughout the course of the evening as well, leading into the event. And we're likely going to hand off overnight to prepare you guys for what's coming and to track everything for you right here on KV. So stick with the KV Weather Impact team. We're going to have all the latest on it.